Hello, everyone. I'm Kelsey Lemon, Senior Technical Marketing Manager for the BCF Division here at Broadcom, and I want to welcome you to this dark mode edition of Capacity Management and VMware Cloud Foundation, where we're going to focus on a special request topic, workload optimization. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the concepts here, but if you want to read my musings, check out my blog on the topic in the description below. But at a high level, right, workload optimization really ensures consistent performance in the data centers that we're managing. It works closely with DRS to ensure applications get the required resources that they need, and it really enables us to move VMs across clusters to meet performance as well as business intent. So let's just go ahead and get started. So on the capacity management page, after we've selected optimize, we'll see the workload placement option right next to reclaim and right size. And just like those options, right, we're going to see all the data centers that exist in our setup, their optimization status, time remaining, and even potential cost savings opportunities. And the data centers that need optimization are placed at the beginning of the list, and they're labeled as not optimized. And when applicable, VMware Cloud Foundation gives us a few optimization options. To run it manually, click the Optimize Now option. To schedule the optimization to run during one of our maintenance windows, click Schedule. And to run the optimization immediately when an optimization opportunity exists, click Automate. But before we optimize this data center, let's look at how we can set up our operational and business intent for this particular data center, which is basically used to determine how we're going to spread workloads over available resources, as well as how we want to drive placement of our workloads. So let's just go ahead and define our operational intent. And you can do it a couple of ways. To spread workloads evenly over available resources, choose balance. To place workloads in as few clusters as possible, choose consolidate. And to minimize workload contention, choose moderate. We can also configure the cluster headroom. Now, in a nutshell, headroom is a buffer that allows us to define how much risk is acceptable in a cluster, right? So for example, if we choose 15%, we'll be allotted 15% headroom across CPU, memory, and disk. Now let's talk about business intent. I elaborate again more about VM placement, and that's in my blog, and that's another shameless plug. But in a nutshell, VMs will be placed on clusters or hosts that have matching tags, and we can match VMs several ways, either through matching tags for operating systems, environments, network, etc. As for me, though, I'm going to leverage the tier option because I've set up SLA tiering to prioritize the placement of my business applications. I've got a gold cluster that's brand new with a super fast hardware, right? And I want to run my business critical applications on that gold cluster. And I also have a silver cluster. It's nice hardware, is not as new or as fast. So I'm going to place my non-business critical applications to run there. And so with that, right, now that we have defined our operational as well as our business intent, we're ready to run a workload optimization. Here we can see the workload utilization of the clusters in our data center, as well as the projected usage after the optimization. Now, one thing to note, the real-time predictive analytics used by the workload optimization tool looks 2 hours ahead to really ensure that workloads moved will not need to be moved again, thereby avoiding that ping pong effect. And for that extra level of confidence, we can view the exact moves that will be taken during the optimization action. And when the optimization finishes, we can see that our data center is now optimized.